Alright, Mekone turned 73, continuing to do a little bit of remote site searching, which doesn't work out in this case. Doing our cloud trapezes, trying to take back some provinces. Continuing Corpseman construction, teleporting in lizard shamans to cast critical spells for our army that's in motion late. Not ideal, but you do what you have to do. And yeah, let's take a look at this battle. This is our Cloud Trapeze attack. This is inside our own territory against one of the area Seraph groups who, yeah, look like they're out of gems now. He put a little bit of PD in here, looks like about 6. We threw a water bottle onto this caster, kind of just because we were planning on using him with the assassins, but like I said, I just don't think the ice elementals are going to do great. So yeah, I mean, we have gems, we have all the elementals. This should be no problem. Probably would have skipped this battle, except definitely watch this sorceress, because yeah, there she goes. So when you're using just human level HP mages and they have no gear, like she has air, probably should have cast air shield on her, something like that. So yeah, again, just highlighting that using human HP mages can be problematic, so it works out for us, but I mean the sorceresses, like, they're not cheap, so I think we still come out ahead overall. We do spend gems, so I don't know, maybe even a bit of a wash, but yeah, could have been a much better victory. Definitely something to consider when you're doing your air elemental rating. And then Calum uses another Arouse Hunger on just a very lightly defended province. This was in their lands. Weren't really planning on holding this, so that's fine. Then some proclamations, of course, and then yeah, some more raids from Calum that don't work out for us. Again, minimal PD. I have to say, like, this style of raiding, he seems to like these Seraphines, who are stealthy, I believe, which I didn't realize. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. Stealthy raiders are definitely like a big advantage. But they're just fire 1, and I mean holy 2s, which isn't very useful in combat, so they're probably not cheap, like really low HP, they're mages. I think he gives one of them a gem here, yeah, so she can put herself up to fire 2 with Phoenix power, but just kind of like then casting Fireball, like, I don't know, just send a few birds, it feels like. It seems like a bit of a waste of mages, although the fact that they are stealthy is nice, but then he's using bodyguards, which makes sense. Like, I'm a proponent of bodyguards, definitely, but like these guys aren't stealthy, so it's like you kind of lose the advantage of having like stealthy raiders. I don't know. I don't love this group, but it works out. So you use what you have, definitely. And then speaking of, this is just a lone area Seraphine. She wasn't even sneaking, just attacking. She runs into our Phoenix Pyre thug, who's still not scripted to cast Phoenix Pyre. And then this is one of his fortresses. We just withdrew our Cyclops. I was a little concerned about just leaving him sat on there. He can't get magic phased on, so I was maybe a little too cautious, right? Because if you magic phase, you end up in your own fort. But he just has really low magic resistance, and I just feel like if you kind of leave a super combatant sat on someone's fort, that is asking for trouble. You have to be pretty confident, because you're going to give him plenty of time to just tailor a counter to him. So we just pulled our Cyclops off there. He'll drop maybe back onto this fort later. We'll see. He'll drop somewhere. And then speaking of our Cyclopses, we had one move out and just take out some Zots in a cave. That went fine. And then we get raided by a more normal group, Spirehorns, Area Seraph, minimal PD. They do just fine. And this, I believe, is our ghouls trying to lock down his fort, and he did patrol. So that's very nice. Pretty minor force, not a lot of PD here, just one area Seraph, no gems. But it doesn't take too much to stop the ghouls. But, the birds aren't great in combat. We get a little mixed up by a few of the birds that go in. And then, of course, lightning is dangerous to most things, including ghouls. And then, yeah, we actually rout, because ghouls have morale, unlike many undead. So it almost worked out, but not quite. So that was nicely done by Calum. And then this next one was one that I actually just sort of skimmed over when I was playing. I just took note. So Illwinter is still up, and it's affecting Calum more because they have cold scales. So in cold provinces, you get attacks by, like wolves, and in this case, Sneeful giants. So this is pretty nasty. But what I caught later when I took a closer look is, so this Lion Tribe Witch Doctor, right? He put up the Ravenous Swarm, which is a great anti-undead spell specifically for like raiders and small groups of maybe elite undead, right? It only targets one like per turn until it kills it. So against Skelly spam, it's not really going to do much. But against a Spectre, for example, it would be pretty darn effective. And this is indeed the province that our Spectre would have raided into had he chosen to attack instead of sneaking. So that was actually our Spectre dodging a bullet, and extra painful for him because there was actually a Thistle Mace on that Lion Tribe Witch Doctor. So yeah, sometimes the independents work for you, sometimes they work against you. Speaking of working against you, demons have manifested, and of course our calves. People are plundering. Good work, people. More calves, 3 heads disappearing. It's probably not demons. I'm sure they're just running away. Somebody made a pact with the demons. Good work. This is preferred. I'm sure nothing bad will come of this in the future. We get some blood slaves. We get some nature gems. All very nice. Some misfortune, some magic. Somebody burned down a fairy court. Then barbarians attack. Oh, Calum, we must have a scout here. So, just your usual madness from the independents. And then, of course, Bane Venoms. We catch an area of Seraphine trying to sneak around. This is actually on top of like where our main army is mustering. And yeah, I'm actually patrolling with like basically the whole army, a little light on the mage support. Definitely planning on bringing out more mages. This is pretty dangerous. Like in retrospect, I probably should not have done this because without its full mage support, this army is at risk. So the reason I was doing this is I was worried that Calum was going to drop a Bane Venom charm onto this province, and I really did not want to have everybody get diseased. But yeah, probably should have just risked it, with like only patrolling with maybe some of the corpse constructs and the normal patrolling that, I'm doing on basically every fort with like Helit Peltasts and that kind of stuff. And because, yeah, risking the army like this is, not great. And I provided, a little bit of mage support, right? Because I knew it was a risk. But then, of course, this is research, that I'm missing out on. But, was worried about Bane Venom Charm. So anyway, a little interesting. It does notice an area Seraphine. Not really sure what she was planning on doing, but yeah, not going to be doing it. And then sadly, we did not one-turn crack this fort. It's actually a giant fort. I'm assuming this was one that was put up by Hinnom a long time ago. So it has more wall integrity, and the army that's on top of it is a little on the light side. I think it's like 280 siege strength, so enough to bring down a normal fort, I think, in one turn. Because you always have the archers count, basically. So whatever archers the faction gets normally, they help hold up the walls. So it's actually you need a little more than just the fort's wall integrity to one turn crack it, even if the fort is empty. And this fort is mostly empty, but not completely empty. But it's also a giant fort, so even aside from that, yeah, we just didn't have enough to one turn crack, which is always a little sad, but we should have it next turn. So yeah, let's see what we're up to. As you can see, we've kind of been rolled back almost to the starting line in terms of the rating, right? So we had made some decent inroads into Calum's territory, but that's mostly been pushed back, so he's been doing a good job of counter-raiding. We still do have a few provinces, and of course, our Spectre is still roaming around and going to capture us a few provinces. But yeah, our raiding capacity in the north has been reduced. But that's okay because, that was mostly diversionary, right? So our army is in position. It's going to be difficult for him. I mean, he can't magic phase onto it, right? He has to magic phase into the fort now. So we're kind of safe in a lot of ways, and, we've cut a lot of this territory off. And we've also maintained our own territorial integrity, which is something I was pretty worried about. The birds raid pretty well. Definitely had talked a bit with Russ, and just kind of from the general game chat, it definitely sounded like the Calum player raided pretty heavily in that conflict, and it sounds like that's the main way that they won. So yeah, I was expecting to get hit pretty hard, and I was expecting to see quite a few Calum flags scattered all throughout my territory, but that hasn't really happened. So that side of it's going really well. we're in position to take a fort, so I'm feeling pretty good about this. And then once this fort is taken and we start our other army in motion, we'll be able to start raiding again, more intensively, basically. And to that end, that's probably kind of the main thing for this turn. I've started like the Peltast wave, the Peltast chain. So I've got 2 provinces. I think I switch it around for one of these, but we can just recruit. Yeah, in fact, that's not one of them. Let's see, where is it? Yeah, it's pretty far afield. Here we go, and here's the commander, right? So we can recruit a Indy commander here from this province down here, and then we can recruit an Indy commander from this province down here, and then we can take that Indy commander, move here, we recruit 10 Peltasts, then he'll move into Mekone, recruit 10 more Peltasts, right? That'll be 20 Peltasts, and then, just keep doing that, right, in a continuous chain and move them on up. And then the same story from over here, we recruit an Indy commander, march him over to this fort, we're going to give him 10 Peltasts here, we give him 10 Peltasts here, and, send them up on their merry way, right? And we're just going to keep doing that every turn, right? And so it's going to take a second to actually arrive there. It's a little unfortunate. Again, our infrastructure situation isn't super well set up to support this war. A fort here probably would have been good, would have helped a lot, but infrastructure problems, that's an old story. But once the first groups arrive, right, then we'll have 2 Peltast raiding groups arriving every single turn, right? So it's like, you answer 2 Peltast raiding groups every turn or else, basically. And, if you don't answer the first 2, well, now you have to answer 4, right? And if you don't answer those, now you have to answer 6. This is probably what I should have done, like right from the start, but kind of watching this attack go and then watching it run out of steam, I was like, okay, hang on, you need to change the approach a little bit. So it's going to take a few turns for it to, actually arrive, but that's okay. It should roughly coincide when we're going to start to move our main army out and when our other army will be free to move. And so that'll help, push our raiding groups through, because he's going to have to worry about okay, where does this stack go? He might not be able to fill his land with counter-raiding answers as easily because he'll risk losing them, to our main stacks. And so yeah, the rest of our raiding is mostly paused. We're also bringing back some of our Cyclopses that can cloud trapeze, and I'm not really interested. The Cyclopses are a little too valuable to risk, I feel like, in just sort of random raids. So I really want to use them more to, destroy his raiding groups or lock down his forts at critical moments. Yeah, just taking a random province for a turn or 2 doesn't really feel worth it. So I'd rather have him sit at home and research. It's not like we're not active. We slipped one of our assassins up here, and lo and behold, here is a counter raiding group, and there's an area Seraph leading this, and I'm we'll see. I think this guy he's got a water bottle. It's going to be an ice elemental, so we'll see how that goes. But he's well protected against cold and shock, which are the main things that area Seraphs do. And, we'll see. There's probably not a ton of bodyguards on him. And I'm pretty sure this guy can take out some bodyguards. So fingers crossed that this assassination works out. And then, of course, we have our other, our really heavily kitted assassin who's going to be helping us to clear out these trogs. We have, just this diseased Polemarch moving in to capture the province. It should be leaderless trogs, so they'll run away. Actually doing a little site searching with our pretender, so not, a complete waste of our time, using them as sort of counter-raiding, but then also getting some site searching in. And yeah, I think that more or less covers it. We're not doing too much in the way of troop recruitment. Yeah, just a few Peltasts here and there, continuing with the Archons, of course. But yeah, less troop recruitment, and then the capital switching over to just the Helit hoplites to try to bulk out, this potential third army that thinking about building up. So yeah, I think that covers turn 73. All right, Mekone turns 74. We have another throne claim here. I'm actually not sure who this is for. I'll have to double check. And then we are teleporting in another lizard shaman. Definitely there are no, critical spells that our army was missing. Would never do anything like that. And then this fills me with joy. This is actually the first time I have seen a message like this. So our forest dome, which I was kind of convinced was maybe a waste of gems, actually did something for us, so it absorbed a spell. I guess you don't get told what spell. My guess, based off of just what has been cast and on other events in the turn, that this was probably a Cloud Trapeze attack. So yeah, the Forest Dome actually doing something for us. I am sold on the Dome spells. It's not a hard sell for me. I like the idea of protecting valuable provinces. And then we actually got a successful Mind Hunt, which was nice. Quite a few of those fail. Speaking of Mind Hunts, being irresponsible with our Pretender, putting her on the border, she did manage to resist the Mind Hunt, so that's good. She didn't find any sites for her troubles, but it's not the last that we'll hear of her this turn. And then, let's talk about some other site search missing, of course. And then we had an assassination attempt. So, here's our Ice Elemental with our medium-kitted assassin. He's just going up against an Area Seraph, who is pretty darn dangerous because he has air gems. And I wasn't expecting that. It must have been reloaded, I think, or he may not have used them, because he did just raid. Now, luckily, he summoned in a lesser air elemental, not so bad. And then we kill him, and I think, their morale breaks, if you will. It doesn't actually do anything now that there's no mage to lead it. So they just need to kill it off. That'll be no problem. They'll get it eventually. So that works out really well. Hopefully want to do more of this, and then also now anytime that he moves an Area Seraph out, to counter raid a place that I've raided, he needs to think, okay, well, can it survive an assassination attempt? So nice to see these guys getting a little bit of use. I probably haven't been aggressive enough with them. I actually think they cost upkeep. Yeah, so you get them for free from events, but they do cost you a decent amount of gold to just have around. So they're cool, they're decently useful, but I maybe should have been using them a little more aggressively, because if you lose them, then that's less upkeep you have to pay. So that would be nice. And then speaking of our assassins, here we go. After a Trog, I'm going to close my eyes because I know that this is going to work out just perfectly. There's absolutely no possible way that we could lose this battle because I tested it. I didn't want to be seen losing to a Trog with I don't even know how many gems worth of gear. Of course, you do need to set your assassin to something other than retreat. So, that's pretty painful. That's pretty embarrassing. We're not going to count exactly how many gems, but I do. Oh yeah, it's a lot. I guess these are blood slaves, so it only counts for like half. It's just like 20 gems right there, or whatever. So that's rough. It happens. So let's just move right on. This is Calum attacking us with a relatively standard raid, and he runs into our Phoenix Pyre thug. Speaking of scripting errors, however, I have fixed his script by this point, so that's good. He actually does put Phoenix Pyre up on himself. That's what that looks like. Otherwise, I think this is pretty standard. So there's going to be some air elementals in all likelihood. I really am wondering about why Jaguar Tribe Warriors, just 2 of them. I guess I have recruited some Wolf Tribe and Bone Tribe. Sometimes you just recruit what you can get, but it's kind of extra rough with Calum because that messes with their ability to fly, on the strategic map. So not too worried. The air elementals are going to be the most dangerous aspect. Not sure. Oh, okay. He just had his morale break. Does he have any? No. He just, he was like, this is one scary looking giant. And then, of course, once the mage runs off, the air elemental's no big deal. I wonder if he took a lightning hit from our hats. So again, our Phoenix Pyre Thug isn't really tested, but, a fully kitted giant is tough to raid against. He has so much kit that this is probably not a very efficient use of him, and was probably the wrong chassis to use as a Phoenix Pyre Thug. I picked him because, he has the Dominion immortality, so it's and Phoenix Pyre Thugs, I don't know, people argue back and forth. I was just curious to try one. But definitely some people feel they're not good and not really viable. It's definitely a dangerous job. So I figured, as long as I keep him inside my own, Dominion, he's immortal there. So I'll lose the gear, that'll suck, but, at least I won't lose any chassis, kind of messing around with this. But I think that he would really be better suited at, trying to cheese an army or something like that. And for that sort of role, it's much better if you have magic phase movement. So I actually think probably making a Cyclops, a Phoenix Pyre Thug would have been better, and then, dropping him onto an army, because it's pretty unlikely, especially now that he's seen the kit and kind of knows, right? There's no surprise, right? So he can either plan for it or avoid it. So yeah, I mean, he's doing a good job counter raiding, but we could be doing that for cheaper. So it's not really working out, even though, we are getting some victories. I don't think he didn't really kill anything important there, but, hey, we kept the province, so can't complain too much. And then, we get attacked again and hit on. This is definitely a heavier raid, a decent amount of Spire Horns and like an Eagle King with, fairly standard kitting from what we've seen, and a lot of gems, but like, I don't know. I mean, I think I've taken a few guys off patrolling, but, I still have this guy I think is going to do mass protection, and this probably will trigger gem usage. Yeah, so we got some mass protection. So much PD. Oh, too much PD. Just don't look at it. Look at how successful it is. It's going after an Eagle King. Anyway, yeah, the Spire Horns are going to do a whole lot of nothing. Not really sure what have you been doing with these gems? It's Iron Warriors, quickness. This is all like point buff, Breath of Winter, like, yeah. This is just too many Gigantes. Yeah, and I think, HP routes, perhaps? Yeah, it does say they're routed. It does look like somebody went in there at the end, but I just don't think that you're going to get a bird to, like, Protection Thug against a ton of giants. So yeah, this works out really well. We don't get the Eagle King, but he actually has nowhere to retreat to. So, that's a full wipe. That's a lot of gems. Eagle Kings, capital only. Probably slow to recruit. Slow to recruit. So yeah, that is very nice. Not really sure what he was thinking there. I guess maybe he felt, since I'd caught one raid, like maybe I would stop patrolling. Maybe he didn't realize that, like, he's like, okay, surely that's an army, and I just saw it move out. And surely someone would never put like 40 or 50 points into their province defense and didn't realize that was province defense. It's not going anywhere. But it works out for us. And then, this is another Arouse Hunger in Snowford. But this is a barbarian province, so I dumped a decent amount of PD in. I am a man who's not afraid to waste gold on province defense. And, it could have gone either way, right? Barbarians don't have great morale, so we come away with it just barely. But still, that's 8 death gems that's down the drain. So it was close, but worked out. And then, of course, this is our Polemarch just suiciding into Trogs. Yes, we did not assassinate the Trog commander. These Trogs are becoming the bane of my existence. And then our Pretender finally catches a little bit of action, having not gotten mind hunted. But, it's a pretty small raiding group here. Yeah, this isn't even... this is the Blizzard Warrior. That's a Spirehorn. Somewhere, here he is. Yeah, this is just one of Calum's regular commanders, so there isn't even a mage leading this. Probably Bone Tribe PD could have just dealt with this. Definitely don't need our Pretender here. This doesn't trigger gem usage as well that it shouldn't, because, she didn't even get a chance to move in, so kind of sees some action, but, not a super worthwhile use of our Pretender. Maybe if we'd found some sites, but alas, we did not. And then this is just Calum taking back, a province. This is, I think, in their territory that we didn't bother defending. And then Russ moves forward with their Aether Lord, taking out a decent amount of PD. And then this is actually a fairly substantial battle between Calum and Russ. I think this is really like one of Russ's, if not last armies, one of their last armies. They're kind of down to it, but they have quite a bit of stuff in here. Like, what is that? Living Water? Yeah, Living Water. Maybe Living Clouds too. Yeah, both from Russ. That's like the size 4 elementals. You get more of them, the more the stronger the caster is. It's a really good one for communions, where you can get your casters up to like really ridiculous levels and spawn a ton of elementals in, which is not what we have here. I think I don't really see any communion. Yeah, these guys must just be able to pull it off. Nice, yeah, just Air 3. Probably summon Storm Power? Nope. Yeah, Excessive Fatigue. It's a tough spell to cast. So he was just barely able to get it off with this Air 3. But still a very dangerous spell, and now he has quite a few elementals, and then of course he has a ton of Aether Warriors. They come with the Aether Lords that we've been seeing him use as thugs. He's got some bears, got some regular lamias, some sea trolls. Like, yeah, you know, he's got some of his sacreds in here, right? The skin shifters. Like, this was a scary army with some mages. And then from Kalem, like, yeah, relatively normal looking force, right? And he's got corpse constructs. Oh, interesting. They have some damage, probably some strategic nuke spells happening. I'm not sure. But anyway, corpse constructs, you know, they're not great in combat. They're mostly for breaking down the walls. Then looks like mostly birds just on guard commander. Maybe a few. Okay, wait, no, this guy, he's got a berserker pelt. I wonder if he picked that up. I don't know. This is interesting kitting. Normally you use like this lightning rod for making corpse constructs, but I guess, I mean, it's magic. It's magic damage, you know? It does decent damage, I suppose. And he's got some death gems. Yeah, it feels like he probably picked up that berserker pelt. I can't imagine that was the plan. Howl also coming from Russ. And then, yeah, he's got some Eagle Kings back here, again, with the defensive gear. It looks like mostly quite a bit of reinvigoration. I also haven't really focused on that too much. But yeah, 12. That's probably after summoning Earth Power. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, that's really solid reinvigoration, which helps a lot for mages. So it's like defensive plus like reinvigoration. So that's cool. What else is he doing? Okay, summoning earth elementals, sure. That's probably a good sign, because I would have expected air elementals, and I'm thinking this is an indication that he's pretty low on air gems, because yeah, otherwise, like, why wouldn't you do air elementals in a fight like this? Not that like earth elementals are bad. I should probably turn on team colored squares here, because we have all kinds of elementals from, those are kind of close. Okay, dual, there we go. Yeah, because a lot of these are Roos's elementals. They're air elementals. Now, they can't trample because these guys are only size 4. Okay, no, they can trample a bit because, yeah, the corpse constructs are only size 3. Probably some of Roos's casters here are casting some of those lightning bolts and thunder strikes. Hard to say. That can come from either side. But, yeah, I mean, you know, Roos just outnumbers Kalem here, so I think Kalem is in trouble. Especially yeah, I mean, Roos they have more troops, they have more mages, you know, their troops are better quality. The mages are probably roughly equal in terms of quality. The Eagle Kings are pretty gosh darn good, so maybe the Eagle Kings outmatch anything that Russ has individually. But yeah, you know, this just isn't enough stuff here from Kalem, which is a good sign, right? Like, you know, this is a 2v1, so, you know, he is getting pulled in multiple directions, and, you know, it's fort assaults are always tough. So yeah, like to see that win from Russ. That's pretty big. It deals a ton of damage. Gets 2 Eagle Kings, 6 Area Seraphs, you know, a couple other random casters, which are less important, but you know, sometimes these are a hassle to replace, like some of the indies. And it didn't really cost Russ much anything, you know, in the way of units or mages. You know, I mean, he did burn gems, so you always have to consider that, but I mean, still, this is a huge win. I think Russ did more here in this battle than like I've done against Kalem, and like in terms of damage over like the last, you know, 2 turns or so. So yeah, it's a really good battle. And then we have the last gasp of TNN, who's AI at this point. So yeah, Arcocephali is just finishing him off, and then that nets them the elimination. Kalem is continuing to be attacked by Nephil Giants. Illwinter definitely seems much worse if you have Cold Dominion. So in our Heat Dominion, we still haven't, you know, had any of these attacks just yet. I'm sure they're coming. Speaking of attacks and all that kind of stuff, we're plundering our own provinces, demon, possessed ruler of a land, so I'm sure that'll be fine. New trade routes, yes, come partake in our 3-headed calves and demons. Yeah, people teaching that work is bad, nature gems, that's nice, and then on to our Bane Venom Charms, of course. And then we do have the notification that TNN is gone. Yeah, it's a heck of a battle. You know, I learned a lot. It was a really fun war. So yeah, you know, a lot of respect to TNN. Like, they did a good job, and it was really fun to play against. So let's see what we're up to. So this is the situation, and probably the biggest thing is we're going to be storming this fort. Yeah, not expecting a lot of resistance. It is possible that he magic phases in some stuff this turn. We're just going to storm with our thugs, right? So our 2 super kitted Polomarks along with one of our Cyclopses. So yeah, the rest of the army is just going to hang out. Maybe should have put them in motion immediately to go attack this other fort, but you know, you never know, right? Like, these guys could fail, so you know, It's a little safer. We can reorganize a little bit once we actually have access to a lab. And I kind of want to time this army attacking because the other big thing, well, a couple other big things, we are finally moving out, our other like main army. So, this is like roughly what it looks like. Not going to go through, all of it just yet. We can, we'll talk about it more once it actually like gets in combat. But yeah, it's a lot of the same kind of stuff that we've seen. Probably one of the biggest differences is now we have a bunch of these long dead horsemen who I think are just set to, attack rear immediately, right out in front. So this should help significantly if Calum tries to, cheese us with a Wrathful Skies or like some other relatively unsupported like wipe by just a few casters. So this is an element that we were kind of missing in our other army. And yeah, I was pretty worried about that. We did at least have these thugs who are going to generate imps immediately, and the imps, well, yeah, it's Perpetual Storm. You always got to remember Perpetual Storm. So the imps would help us significantly less than they normally would because, they're just going to waddle forward instead of flying to the back and immediately messing with casters. So anyway, that's probably like the single biggest difference with this army. This army is just a bit larger and, has a bit more in terms of mage support, but otherwise, kind of similar elements to what we've been seeing. It's going to be going for the capital, probably. On the way, we can pick up this throne, ideally, which we may not be able to hold, but we can at least knock it out of Calum's hands. And we may jump on top of this fort with our main army. It really kind of depends on how Calum responds. And, we'll have the option to link up with our other army if we feel like, you're going to need absolutely everything to beat whatever it is that, Calum brings to bear. But considering their losses against Russ and kind of what they've shown, I don't think we'll need to do that. But I'm wrong all the time, so yeah, we'll see how it goes. Otherwise, continuing the Peltast chain, right? It's on its way. It's starting to move. So, it'll be a second, but it's getting there. In the meantime, we are pushing, some of the groups that we pulled back. Yeah, so this is one of our Elder Cyclopses with, the Lizard Shaman to enlarge him, actually bringing a few gem reloads on a scout here. Yeah, this is sort of an older group, trying to phase these out, but, I have them out here. They're in position, might as well use them, especially here because we know that these Spirehorns are unled. So it's an opportunity to try to wipe some of them out. And then this Cyclops, who's just been, hanging out, waiting for someone to come attack him, hasn't really happened yet. He's been able to research because we have a lab here, and it's a relatively valuable province, so I'm okay with it. But at this point, it feels like, okay, let's move this guy forward. So he's, going to cover this province and then probably start to assist, in continuing to take provinces. We're moving up, our hidden Giganti group, which, Calum should know about now because it's been in combat. But yeah, we would like to, hop on this fort and like siege it down potentially. Now, there is something standing in the way of that, right? And that's kind of like this main force that Calum has down here, other than he's building up a good amount of corpse constructs here, and I'm sure he's recruiting like Spirehorn warriors, and, so there's definitely, here's some Blizzard warriors coming in, so he's recruiting more stuff, but this is sort of like the main force that he's been using that I've been concerned about in terms of knocking out our raiders. And what we are going to do is we're going to drop a Cyclops on it. So we've got this guy who mostly the same kitting to what we've seen with one major difference. I discovered this Crown of the Titans, which is a very expensive item, 15 gems. But it does give you enlargement, so it brings you one size point larger, and on a size 5 Cyclops, that makes him size 6, which means he can't be trampled by air elementals. So can't be trampled by air elementals. He has plenty of shock resistance. He's got, plenty of cold resistance. He's got plenty of protection, a little lower than, this crown isn't great protection, right? But, it's enough, and he can iron skin. So I think this guy is going to be more or less immune to what Calum has shown us so far. So yeah, we're just going to drop him in on top of this group and, hopefully wipe it out. In which case, Calum won't really have a ton, that they can use to respond to us dropping, jumping on top of this fort with a relatively small force. And then other than that, continuing to push scouts around in this territory. We're moving our assassin on top of here, so if we discover any commanders in here, he'll have a crack at assassinating some of those. We're activating our Spectre to take this province. This isn't a particularly great raid, but at least is kind of annoying. And then, of course, the reason that we have sight on Kalem's capital at all is, we cast Astral Window, right? Just one more month left. And this is actually coming from Stone Sphere, which is an item, because Shadow Imps don't actually have any magic paths. So yeah, we're just, going to use that Stone Sphere to just sort of scry on, wherever we feel is most interesting. And yeah, I think that covers the majority of it. We'll take a quick look at recruitment. Just a few more of these Helit Hoplites here. Really just more as replacements, because we are expecting losses definitely. Finishing off some Archons, a few more Peltasts, of course. Let's see, switching over to one of the cheaper, researcher commanders. We are starting to run into some gold problems, probably. Still decent income, but, those Archons are not cheap. And okay, yeah, we're actually getting a Polemarch. That's kind of interesting. Would have expected to continue with Cyclopses, but like I said, the Cyclopses are pretty darn expensive. Not that the Polemarchs are much cheaper. So yeah, in retrospect, probably would have preferred the Cyclops, but I went with the Polemarch, and then yeah, just Peltasts here to continue with our Peltast wave, and yeah, I think that covers turn 74.